Another tough one. Russell Wilson, a guy that we have been watching forever, and
He looked very limited, I will say.
very limited, very not that great. He had some good moments in the game. I mean, you look at if you're a box score watcher, you see 20 of 29 for 270 and two tutties, but it didn't look like that at all.
No.
Decision making was off, and it's some of the stuff that we've seen all season. And I mean, I have some takes about this game. I have some realizations that we watched this game together actually. And we were like, this is just not a good football game. Ravens ran the hell out of the football, just
Yes.
ran that rock, ran the clock, did what they did, and that's just this team. And if the Ravens want to win in the postseason, that's the type of game they have to play every time. Every single time they have to play that way. It's what they didn't do last year in the AFC Championship game. That's the exact way that Baltimore has to play to win every single football game in this postseason, Joel.
You know what? Like one of my main takeaways from this game is I saw a lot of people after the fact saying, "Oh, should Mike Tomlin leave? Oh, should Mike Tomlin this?" I think you are. I'm sorry to say that. I think you are incredibly stupid to think that if Mike Tomlin leaves this team, they are any better with him
Right.
than without him. I think that is very stupid to say. I look at this team. It's a very mediocre roster. Okay, I'm sorry to say it, but the Pittsburgh Steelers are a very mediocre team. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are not the best running game in the league. They're just not. It's not that good. Their defense is pretty good. I like their defense. Their offensive line is not the best. Russell Wilson was what I don't even think he was starting last year. I think he got cut from the Broncos,
The whole mess,
and
yeah.
Justin Fields is, the Bears were willing to just let him go for a couple of mid-round picks. I don't understand how you thought that this team was gonna go to Baltimore and beat the Baltimore Ravens in a playoff game. I don't understand how you were gonna do that. Your best wide receiver, we have said time and time again, is a drama queen. He just is. Doesn't get the ball, he starts freaking out. Mike Williams is someone that the Chargers were literally willing to cut. Went to the Jets, didn't do anything, got cut. Went to the Steelers, and when he had one catch, which almost helped my parlay, by the way, but that's not the point.
Huge.
Hey, and you got a couple of mid-round dudes like Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, and it's like, where are the weapons on this team? There's no weapons.
No.
We got a few cool gadget dudes, but there's no good weapons besides outside of George Pickens.
Right.
The running game's mediocre. The offensive line I could care less for. Russell Wilson, I could really care less for, even though statistically he had a good game. I don't understand how you thought that Mike Tomlin was going to put this team together to win a playoff game. I don't see how you ever thought they were going to do that. You should be thanking him that he took this mediocre roster to the playoffs. You should be thanking him.
They
But
do.
now they want to let him go. That's ridiculous to me. That's so ridiculous.
I feel like the people that want Mike Tomlin out of Pittsburgh are the non-Pittsburgh fans. It's
Ridiculous.
the people that are looking on the outside of Pittsburgh Steelers football, thinking, "Oh, if you're mediocre," they think he's like a Marvin Lewis type, where you win 10 games every year, make the playoffs, get bounced. He's won before. He's gotten deep into playoffs before. If you gave most other coaches this roster, this is a 7-6 win football team.
Yeah, they would be like constantly like in the top of the draft, like top
Yeah.
10 outside the
Which
top 10 of the
some
draft.
people would rather have that. Some people would rather have that. And I also look at, you mentioned the weapons. You mentioned what happened. The leading rusher in this game was Najee Harris, 17 yards. In
What
this,
are we
the
supposed to do with
Steelers,
that?
the
What are
Steelers
we supposed to
cannot run the
do?
football. Right. So how much am I going to really say, oh, Russell Wilson had the worst football game of his life, or Russell Wilson didn't have a great football game? When, yeah, I mean, he didn't have a good football game, but like, what else is he supposed to do?
You can't run the ball against the best rushing offense in the league. How are you supposed to win this game?
Yeah, it's not
How?
happening. It's not happening. There was no scenario they won this game. I think I'm glad the Broncos made the playoffs, right? And I think everybody wanted the Bengals in the playoffs. You know what? Maybe they should have just had a selection. Do college football, right? Get the Steelers out, put the Bengals in. This was just
Want them in.
I want the Bengals in. I want the Bengals in next year.
Bengals are awesome. Oh my
Bengals are
god.
fun to watch. They're good. They're great television. We
Jesus.
have the wrong AFC North teams play each other. Imagine Bengals Ravens that game instead.
Oh my god.
If they just beat New England and a couple other teams.
I'd
New
be
England.
I'd be way more confident about the Bengals beating the Ravens
I think
than
the Bengals
ever the
win that
Steelers.
game.
Yeah,
I
I
think
think
the
the
Bengals win this game.
Bengals could potentially win that game.
I think the Bengals win. I mean, that's just like me saying, it's like SEC teams and hypothetical matchups, but it's just what it is. To take a look at it, I mean, for Baltimore, and this is kind of my take about it. My other take was that we have way too much recency bias about Russell Wilson. The guy's a Hall of Famer.
Yes.
The guy's a Hall of Famer. I think people for the past 3 years, have just been ragging on Russell Wilson. It's going to ruin everyone's perception of Russell Wilson. That the football fans that weren't around for 2012 and 13 and all that are going to just, when he makes the Hall of Fame, are going to be shocked. And it's going to be really strange when people kind of see that.
You
It's
gotta
going
look
to
at
be
his
interesting.
You gotta look more on his Seattle days where you look
Yeah,
at, like, he's a Hall of Famer.
multi-time
But
All-Pro.
yeah, when it comes to the Ravens side of things, it's more so just like, can we trust them? You know,
They got to prove it, right?
in this kind of setting, or can we trust Lamar Jackson?
Yeah.
I guess that's more so the case. I don't know what the update is on Zay Flowers' injury.
I was just looking.
Uh,
It says they're still uncertain about Zay's playoff return.
that's a problem.
Yeah.
So, um, looking at the Ravens, I don't know necessarily, especially against a team like the Buffalo Bills, we'll talk about later, that if they're going to be able to win this game by strictly just running. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that. I think Lamar throwing against this team is really what's going to help. I think he only had like 175 passing yards against the Steelers, which,
Exacto. Good job.
yeah, I thank you. Looking at that matchup, I understand he didn't necessarily have to throw that much. Buffalo, they're forcing Bo Nix to throw. They will be forcing Lamar Jackson to throw.
Yeah.
So without Zay Flowers, and now begs the question, can Lamar pull this team by himself against the Buffalo Bills? I don't know, because also we were watching this game together, the Steelers game. There was a glimmer of hope there for a moment. We watched it, we saw
Yeah.
it, where we're just like, oh wow, like are the Ravens gonna blow this game?
They
Are
had the ball. The
the Ravens
Steelers
gonna blow?
had the ball
Yeah,
with plenty of time and a chance to at least force an opportunity.
right.
Couldn't get down the field.
But if the Steelers are able to do that, I could imagine Josh Allen is able to do that.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to be a much more interesting matchup out of all these next four matchups.
Oh, it's gonna be phenomenal. I think that's the game of the year. From what I've seen, it almost feels like the Super Bowl, even though I think Kansas City beats both of them. I have Kansas
Mhm.
City three-peating, but that's really the game. And because I remember last year when Mahomes beat the Buffalo Bills, and we were talking about it, and I said that the Mahomes Allen rivalry is done. Or not that it's done, but it's not a Manning Brady type of thing.
Mm.
And well, that's what people call it, right? That people say it's not. Oh, I remember saying it's not Mahomes versus Allen, it's Mahomes versus Jackson. That's the new one. That's how this works now. So,
Yeah.
well, now is the game to kind of where we kind of find out, right? This is the game we find out where who is Mahomes' true arch nemesis? Is it going to be Josh Allen, the one that they've played so many times? And of course, we're assuming the Texans don't win this game somehow. But in an unlikely scenario, the Chiefs will play the winner of this game. So if the Bills lose, and that'll be back-to-back years of Mahomes Jackson, no point of talking about Mahomes Allen after that, especially if Lamar finds a way to win the game.
Right.
So I think that will be interesting. This is huge for super long playoff narratives. This is like we're gonna get Phillip Rivers or Peyton Manning against Tom Brady. One of those. We're gonna get Big Ben in there. If only Big
We're
Ben was still around for the Pittsburgh
seeing
Steelers.
three Hall of Famers go at it right now.
We're seeing, yeah, three Hall of Famers in the same playoff bracket, and C.J. Stroud arguably could get to that point if he continues to have a
Could.
good career. And I think this is just a sophomore slump, and he's still got plenty of talent. If he plays the way he did his rookie year for 15 plus years, he's a Hall of Famer.
Right.
And we have another Hall of Famer on the other side, in the NFC, Matthew Stafford.
I was about to say, are you looking at Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff?
Matthew Stafford. Oh, my final thing about, yeah, either one, right?
I'm about to say, which one are you talking about?
Either one. Either one right there. Also, for Derrick Henry, real quick. Huge game.
Monster.
Absolute monster. I was watching that game, and you don't see a lot of running backs have huge playoff moments, and that's one of them. And I just watch that and I think of what Derrick Henry has done for since he's came into the league and the kind of guy he's been. And he gives me the vibe based on how he's able to keep his body so ready to go all the time that he might play for another 5 to 6 years at a pretty good level. Derrick Henry, when he retires, might be the greatest running back to ever play the game by the time he retires.
It's
And
funny.
yeah,
I was talking about it, and like watching him play. I think I mentioned it to you or somebody else. I was like, I genuinely think this guy could play till he's 40.
yeah, you said that. Yeah, you told me that.
Like when we see like how Frank Gore ended his career, where like he was kind of hopping from team to team, and he was like in his 40s, like
Yeah,
what's going on? I think Derrick Henry's gonna be that, but at a more productive level.
he's like it's
Genuinely,
like a LeBron type of aging he can go at.
I don't see him like retiring anytime soon. I just don't see it.
Right. If he
He's way too good.
retires, let's say he retires next year or retires in the next 2 years, it's not because he can't play the game. He would only retire because he doesn't want to anymore. I think a Super
Right.
Bowl might do that for him.
Like an Aaron Donald,
Yeah, yeah, and
He
I
can
mean
really play.
Aaron Donald's the greatest defensive tackle of all time, arguably. And he retired early. Derrick Henry's 31. You look at him, I mean he put up 1921 yards, 325 carries as a 31-year-old, tied for first in rushing touchdowns as a
Come on.
31-year-old running back. Are we serious? He's 106 career touchdowns now.
He's insane.
106 career touchdowns. He had 16 touchdowns at 31 years old. He again, if he keeps his longevity up, he's got a genuine shot. Let's say he plays until he's 37. He does have a genuine shot if he keeps his pace up to become the all-time leading touchdown leader.
Oh yeah.
It's a
No,
bit of
for
a
sure.
long shot depending on his numbers, depending on how many years he goes through and what he can do consistently because Emmitt Smith had a couple 20, 22, 20 something touchdown season. Derrick Henry actually doesn't have a 20 touchdown season, which surprised me. He's never rushed for 20 touchdowns in a single season. But he's rushed for 2,000 and rushed for 1,900 this year. So can't complain about
I
that.
think this year was the second most rushing yards in a
Yeah, it was.
season. I believe
Right,
it was.
right.
Yeah,
In
second
in a
most.
year where I think a lot of us kind of look at a running back signing with a team like that later into his career and kind of going, oh yeah, he's kind of falling off now. This is his aging.
The most he had was 2027.
Yeah, 2027, 2020.
Yeah,
And here he is, still going, still the best running back in the league, arguably. I think he's going to be the greatest running back of all time
he's
when he
amazing.
retires. I
He's
really do.
amazing.
I think he'll be at least top three when he retires, and people won't be ready to have the conversation. It's going to be fun. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Break Panel Sports, and we are here in the beautiful backyard of our friend Jeff. But I'm John.
And I'm Joel. Make sure to look for more on our Spotify and YouTube. We'll see you next time.